Paul Pierce, and our senior writer, host of the Low Post podcast, Zach Lowe. Gentlemen, coming up, we are going to talk about the Nets because they were on fire last night. Man. Actual physical fire, despite KD's absence. Were you blown away by their performance? We will discuss that later. First, though, yesterday, Woj reported that the Cavs are going to sit Andre Drummond as they look for potential trade partners. He also reported the Pistons will sit Blake Griffin until a suitable trade partner is found for him or a buyout agreement is reached. Now, the Cavs played the Warriors yesterday, so these issues caught the attention of one Mr. Draymond Green, who went off on what he sees as a double standard between how players are viewed for making trade requests versus how teams are viewed for benching players in order to trade them. Here are Draymond's full comments, which were, by the way, nobody asked him a question about this. It was a question about something else, and he brought it in this direction. Take a listen.
I would like to talk about something that's really bothering me, and it's the treatment of players in this league. To watch Andre Drummond before the game sit on the sideline, then go to the back, and then come out in street clothes because a team is going to trade him is bull. Because when James Harden asked for a trade and essentially dogged it, I don't think there was no surprise or there's no one's going to fight back that James was dogging it his last days in Houston. But he was castrated for wanting to go to a different team, and everybody destroyed that man. And yet a team can come out and say, oh, we want to trade a guy, and then that guy is to go sit. And if he doesn't stay professional, then he's a cancer, and he's not good in someone's locker room, and he's the issue. And we've seen situations of Harrison Barnes getting pulled off the bench. DeMarcus Cousins finding out that he's traded in an interview after the All-Star game. And we continue to let this happen. But I got fined for stating my opinion of what I thought should happen with another player. But teams can come out and continue to say, oh, we're trading guys, we're not playing you. And yet we're to stay professional. At some point, as players, we need to be treated with the same respect and have the same rights that the team can have. Because as a player, you're the worst person in the world when you want a different situation. But a team can say they're trading you, and that man is to stay in shape. He is to stay professional. And if not, his career is on the line. At some point, this league has to protect the players from embarrassment like that. We talk all of this stuff about you can't do this, you can't say that publicly. If you say that publicly, you're fine. Anthony Davis got fined, I think, $100,000 or something like that for demanding a trade publicly. But you can say Andre Drummond's getting traded publicly, and we're looking to trade him publicly, and he's to stay professional and just deal with it. But then when Kyrie Irving say, oh, my mental health is off, everybody go crazy about that too. Do you not think that affects someone mentally? As much as we put into this game to be great, to come out here and to help your team win, do you think that doesn't affect someone mentally? But as players, we're told to, no, you can't say that, you can't say this, but teams can. It goes along the same lines of when everyone wants to say, oh, man, that young guy can't figure it out. But no one wants to say the organization can't figure it out. At some point, the players must be respected in these situations, and it's ridiculous, and I'm sick of seeing it. Y'all have a great night. I'll see y'all tomorrow or Wednesday.
Wow, Paul, a lot to unpack there, but how do you feel about what Draymond said about the double standard?
I completely agree with him because, like he said, when a player comes out and says, hey, I don't want to be here, I want to get traded, the situation, you have a veteran. Most cases it's going to be a veteran player who's probably still in his prime, who is going in one direction with his career based on what the organization is headed. Usually a younger team looking to rebuild, as we see with Andre Drummond, as we see with Blake Griffin. And so to accommodate those needs, I think it's best for both parties to have that understanding. And like you said, when the organization wants to sit you and say, hey, no, we're going to wait for a trade partner. But when a player says, no, I want to be traded, it is a double standard. And so what happens to the organization for coming public and then the player coming public and he's looked at as the bad guy and not wanting to be a team player?
First of all, Draymond is so good for the NBA. We are so lucky to have Draymond in the NBA speaking about this stuff. Second of all, I mostly agree. I have written and said over and over again that trade requests and trade demands, although they violate NBA rules, they don't really bother me because they're not anything but the players evening the balance of power between teams and players. They're not some evil thing where, oh, it's out of whack, the players are out of control. No, they're just evening the balance of power because teams can trade them at the drop of a hat. Where I disagree a little bit with Draymond is two things. Number one, a lot of players are justifiably annoyed when teams don't keep them in the loop on trade talks. But the flip side is if trade talks leak, the trade just blows up. It can't happen. It's disadvantageous to the team. And the second part is, with Andre and Blake, I'm not sure these are the ones to really take up for because I think they and their agents, at least in Blake's case, are kind of on board and are working with the team. So, yeah, the optics aren't great. But to me, there's definitely a distinction between this and something like the James Harden, Anthony Davis scenario. So a trade request doesn't bother me. It evens the balance of power. Teams generally get good return even when there is a trade demand on the table. That said, there is still an obligation to contract to play and play hard. And I think you can do that while also demanding a trade. So Draymond, I think, is mostly right.
Yeah, and look, there's the technical issue of who demands a trade and what's being said. But there's also those larger ideas of like loyalty, right? And some of the big picture ideas that players get tagged with. And that to me is always unfair, right? Loyalty is supposed to exist for players when we're talking about how their relationship should be with the team. But when the team trades them, people say it's a business. You should know that. It's a business. So that bigger idea is something that I think players get so frustrated about. And that if he applied that to this particular situation, even if, as you note, that particular situation, it might not quite apply here, especially with a guy like Blake. And I want to show you guys the contract numbers of these guys because, Zach, especially Blake's deal. Now, the second year there is an option year, but we, of course, expect him to pick it up. Is this even a tradable contract for Blake Griffin and or even Andre Drummond? Are they going to be able to find a trade partner with that amount of money?
We think the Pistons are going to have a really hard time trading Blake. Andre, with 1 year left on his deal, is pretty eminently tradable. But that said, it's a big number. Like the Raptors rumors that came out yesterday, I have news for you. The Raptors can't make that trade without trading one of their core players. Probably Norm Powell or something would have to be in the trade. Norm Powell might be just straight up as good or better than Andre Drummond. They're not doing that trade. So just the sheer math makes it very difficult for both players. But Andre, that 1 year, that one extra year Blake has makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens there because, yes, every contract is tradable in theory. We saw Westbrook and John Wall go for each other, but that number for Blake Griffin at this point in his career, I think that is going to be very difficult. So we'll see what happens there. Let's move on because Woj also reports Anthony Davis will be reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks after sustaining a calf strain on Sunday. AD also reportedly re-aggravated the Achilles tendinosis there. He is unlikely to return to the lineup prior to the All-Star break. So Woj saying the MRI revealed the injury but did not show a rupture of the tendon. Let's take a look here, Zach, at the Lakers' upcoming schedule. What does AD's absence mean for the team?
If he's healthy for the playoffs, nothing, because that's all that matters for the Lakers. The seeding doesn't matter. If they have LeBron and they're healthy and they have AD, they're going to be fine. This team just won a championship playing in a bubble in front of 0 fans that can win without home court. That said, these are valuable minutes for Kyle Kuzma, who's playing probably the best basketball of his career. Absolutely explosive cutter, finisher on the break. And these are important minutes for other guys who get a chance to step up, like Taylor Horton-Tucker gets a chance to prove, yeah, I'm part of the playoff rotation. Caruso will get more minutes. Everybody will get more minutes. But really, as long as AD is healthy and 100% in the playoffs, this is a blip on the radar. It doesn't mean anything. I don't even think it really matters for LeBron's MVP case. It's not going to swing on how the Lakers play in these next couple of weeks without AD. It's just a matter of his health. If they get to the playoffs intact, it's fine.
Zach, you do know something about basketball, don't you? No, I completely agree. For the Lakers, it's not about seeding for them. They're not one of those teams, like they said, we're pressing for home court advantage. We need to win as many games, no load management. This is a perfect time for AD to get his injury right, for these other players to get put in the roles they're not normally put in, to gain some confidence, because these are players you're going to need down the road. So it's almost, you don't want a player to be hurt. It's almost like a blessing in disguise, because now you can give some guys some minutes moving forward that you wouldn't probably give a lot of minutes. And so as long as AD is healthy for the playoffs, I even say take even 2 months off. Come back the last 3 weeks of the regular season. If the Lakers are a 6 or 7 seed, nobody is betting against the Lakers.
I get that. Although, Paul, what extra pressure does this put on LeBron James? It's pretty clear he would like to win MVP this year, the amount of minutes, the amount of games he's playing. And now there is going to be extra pressure on him. And where they end up in the standings does affect the MVP balloting, doesn't it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, LeBron is having a spectacular season. And moving forward, it does put a lot more pressure on him to carry the load, more so than not having an Anthony Davis. That's a glaring hole in the middle. And now you're asking LeBron to continue what he's already doing, but probably play even more minutes and even put up even bigger numbers. I'm not sure you want that from your superstar aging player, at this point in his career moving forward. They're going to have to look at some point in this season, giving this guy some rest, because the most important thing for LeBron, he wants to probably win an MVP, but he also wants to win another championship too, and that means being rested and healthy for the playoffs.
Yeah, the Lakers should not increase LeBron's minutes. Just keep them right where they are. If you take a couple of extra losses, who cares? And the Lakers are 21-7. It's not like they're going to go 0-8 without Anthony Davis. They'll muddle along. They'll be fine. Their win-loss record is going to be just fine for LeBron's MVP case. And I think more than any candidate, maybe in NBA history, LeBron's MVP case is going to transcend these normal criteria that we use in terms of standing and plus minus. It's not going to be about any of those things for voters when it comes to LeBron.
All right, we will watch Anthony Davis and wish him a speedy recovery. Coming up, guys, Kyrie Irving did it again last night. So our producers compiled Kyrie's best crossover jumper combos out against the Jazz. Ben Simmons went ahead and was like, that's fine. I'll just drop a career-high 42 in his absence. The Jazz ended up winning it. But, Zach, what did you think watching Ben so aggressive offensively?
The skeptic would say, well, he did it without Joel Embiid clogging up the lane and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But really, this is the Ben Simmons the Sixers need. Open floor, no open floor, whatever. This guy, not afraid to get to the foul line, 12 of 13. This is the guy that turns him into a championship-level team.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what we've been wanting him to do, take the next step. And so without Joel Embiid out there, I like what he was doing out there, staying aggressive, and they needed that from him.
No, but I think Zach's right that you could do it with the two of them too. They have so much more spacing around them now, better than last season anyway. Paul, why don't we have a nickname for Zach LaVine yet? How's that possible?
Well, not yet. Yeah, he's the dunk contest, but he has to show us what he can do in the playoffs before you earn a nickname.
I don't know, man. Those dunk contests, I think you get one off that. Zach, come on.
As a fellow Zach, I want him to have a nickname. There are not very many Zachs in the NBA. We got to get him a nickname.
You can't give yourself a nickname, though. That's the rule. And I say that in front of one of the best nickname players in NBA history, courtesy of Shaquille O'Neal, Mr. Truth. There we go.
Yes, indeed.
All right, Miss Strangers. Let's go to Cavs Dubs. Steph and Draymond showing off their chemistry with this audible set that ends in a step 3. This is so fun, right, Zach?
Well, first of all, it's a little rude to the Cavaliers, but second of all, yes, it's very, very fun. The great thing about Steph and Draymond is you can't fake what they have. It's only when two really smart players and two guys who play together for a long time come together. You can't fake that kind of chemistry. We're lucky to get to watch it again.
Yes, indeed.
So fun. And look, it's funny, the way they move together, the way Steph, of course, moves off the ball. Draymond understanding that is such an advantage. But Bob Myers told me it's the reason it's taken guys like Kelly Oubre a while to work themselves into the Warriors system, because it is complicated to know where Steph is going to be at any time. Draymond makes it look easy. And, of course, then you get that result. All right, Miss Respect, end of the game. Balbonic plague time, as our friend Worldwide Wob likes to point out. Rookie Denny Avdia moving out of the way of the pass. His teammates weren't happy. You can't do this if you're a rookie, Paul, right? You got to take the L. You got to take it.
He didn't want the turnover.
Nope.
Look, he called for
shot clock violation is a team turnover.
I know, but yeah, well, all right. I honestly, I never used to look for this at the end of games, but our friend Rob Perez started pointing it out. Now I see it everywhere. It's amazing. So shout out Wob. There you go. Make aesthetics. Nets' second possession in Sacramento. Look at Kyrie picking on Corey Joseph. I mean,
my goodness.
crossed up by Kyrie needs to just be a catchphrase, Zach, right? Because this is where we are now.
How many kids
Corey
would be
Joseph didn't ask for that. He just wants to come play a basketball game. That's actually not bad defense. That's how good Kyrie is. That's not bad defense. It's just that good.
How many kids would sign up for Kyrie Irving's ball handling camp? That's all I would want to know.
All of them, right?
I mean, geez,
Woo.
This is ridiculous.
Ooh, well, it's funny you should mention that, Paul Pierce, because our producers decided our Run It Back today should be Kyrie's filthiest crossover jumper combos. Take a look at this, 2019. This is number 5. Kyrie on the Wolves. This was his Nets debut. Remember this night? This was crazy.
Come on. Come on.
That's good defense. What are you supposed to do?
No one's criticizing the defense. We are praising the offense, Zach. Look at that.
You can't teach that stuff right there.
What can you do?
I forget how many points he had that night. Wasn't he near 50 that night? It was ridiculous.
50-something. I think he got to 50.
Number 4, 2014. He somehow crosses over 2 Pelicans, including Anthony Davis in this clip. 2 in one clip. Thank you, producer Steve.
Somebody's
Kyrie did go for 50 that night. Boom.
Wow.
Number 3, 2016 on Steph in Game 4 of the Finals. You remember this one.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Gosh.
This is just ridiculous. Come on.
Man, that is ridiculous.
Come on. Number 2, 2016, Pablo Prigioni.
Come on, Pablo. Where you going? My goodness.
Oh, no. Pablo.
To be fair, producer Steve says the oldest rookie in NBA history. I'm sorry, Kyrie's doing that to people of all ages. This is back in 2013 on Tayshaun Prince.
Come on, don't do OG Tayshaun like that.
Tayshaun with the long arms, still victim. Look at this.
My goodness.
You reach, I teach, baby.
This will never get old. You'll be able to play these highlights 50 years from now, and you'll still have players not being able to do that.
I do want to note, by the way, the Nets just announced Kyrie is out tonight against Phoenix due to lower back tightness. So you won't see him tonight. Just go to the Jump, go to the YouTube page, and you can just replay it.
Go to Rebecca.
This man is not
an
all-star. It is a problem.
Yes, that's right, Mike. Julius's teammates.
No. This is an all-star right here.
I loved that. Welcome back to the Jump. Rachel Nichols, still joined by Paul Pierce, Zach Lowe, and gentleman Julius Randle. Another big game last night made us want to play one of our favorite games here at the Jump. Oh yes, it's the stat market. You hear the opening bell. We will give you stats and you buy or sell whether they will continue. So first up, Randall, who is having the best season of his career. 23 points, 11 rebounds, 5.5 assists per game, all career highs. He's one of just 4 players in the league averaging 20, 10, and 5. And our researcher, Caesar, discovered no Knicks player has ever done this for a full season. So as we start to take a look at highlights from Randall's 40-piece last night, Paul, do you buy or sell Julius Randle becoming the first Knick ever to average 20, 10, and 5 for a full season?
I'm buying it. I've seen the improvement in this kid's game from going from the Lakers here to New York, and he's made the jump. And I'm telling you, he should be in an all-star game. I'm buying this. I'm buying. 20, 10, and 5 is not easy to do. He's getting it done at all aspects of the game.
Come on. I've held my Julius Randle stock way too long to sell it now. 20, 10, and 5. I've already got 23 and 11. He's easily clearing the first 2, 5.5 assists. I'm buying. Julius Randle, I don't know what's gotten into him. I don't know where these jump shots are coming from, but it has been incredible to watch it. How about the New York Knicks? 1 game under 500. Wow.
I know where this is coming from. This is when an organization is more in sync, from the front office to the coaching staff to the way they are managing players. This is why infrastructure in a team makes such a big difference. If you can support players differently, you can bring out the best in them. We have talked a lot on this show about all the changes the Knicks have made since they got new management in the front office, since Tom Thibodeau came in, Leon Rose. It makes a difference on the court. They don't have to be world beaters and win every game to see improvement. We're seeing it over and over again, and Julius Randle is one of the best stories of the season. Let's move on to Steph Curry, who lit up the Cavs with 36 points last night. Very close to posting the highest scoring month of his career right now, which is saying something. Minimum of 5 games, of course. During February of his unanimous MVP season, Curry averaged slightly more than the 36.3 points per game he's dropping this month. So, Zach, we got 7 games left in February. Do you buy or sell that this could become Steph's highest career scoring month?
He's been so good, it's crazy. He's up to 49.9% from the field. He's almost at 50, 40, 90 again. But if you're forcing me, I'm going to sell this just because I have to bet on Steph averaging 37 or 38 for the rest of the month to top that previous ridiculous month. So I guess I'll tentatively sell. I don't feel good about it, but I'm going to sell.
You shouldn't, Zach. Go ahead, Paul.
Please do not doubt greatness. And what we're seeing is greatness perform here. I know what it feels like to be in that type of zone for a month, as I've been player of the month maybe one time in my career. But this guy has done it time and time again. Continue to prove the critics wrong. He's just in a good groove right now. And then you got to understand, he doesn't have Clay. He doesn't have KD. His usage rate is going to be up. He's going to have the ball. I'm buying. And where do I pick it up?
Well, Paul, that's what I was going to ask you, right? You have played on teams where you were the real offensive option, right? And there's a little more to this Warriors team this year, but without Clay, it's a different story for Steph. Is that the time where we see Steph, in your experience when it was you, when you knew, like, yeah, I am going to take most of these kinds of shots?
Yeah, but the great thing about him, what's making this all great for him, is all the attention is on him. And he's shooting such a high percentage in doing this. When you're coming into the game and like, look, we're not going to worry too much about these other guys. Yeah. We know the focus is on Steph. And to do that at a 50% clip, that's impressive.
Yeah, and not just all of our attention, but the defense's attention. It is so, so impressive. All right, moving on to the Eastern Conference, guys. This is staggering. So I was going to suggest to our producers that we talk about the fact that there were only 4 teams over 500 over the weekend. And by today, it dropped to 3. There's only 3 teams in the Eastern Conference that are over 500 right now. Only the Sixers, Bucks, and Nets. Paul, do you buy or sell that more than 3 East teams will finish over 500? I can't believe I'm asking this.
I believe that there are going to be at least 4 teams at 500 or better in the Eastern Conference. I know it doesn't look like it right now, but the Celtics, I believe, are going to be better as they get healthy. I've never seen it like this. I'm not sure, has it ever happened that you have 4 teams under 500 not make the playoffs? Maybe 1 or 2, but there's no way there's going to be 4 teams not make the playoffs under 500. So I'm going to say 5 teams will be at 500 or better.
Okay.
That's the mark. That's the mark.
Still a low bar, Zach.
Homer Simpson once said, the 2 sweetest words in the English language are default. By default, some sad Eastern Conference team other than the first 3 is going to finish at 500, if not 2. Come on. I know they're all beating up on each other. This is a weird season, but we are going to get, so I'm buying, we're going to get at least one other team that squeaks over 500 in the East, maybe 2.
But let me say this, though, and this is why I will go to the league and say, hey, let's put the top 16 teams in the league record-wise in the playoff
Here
pool.
we go.
That way you're going to get the best 16 teams, and then you're going to see who's really the best in the world. Because there's been years where I've seen a team over 500 not make the playoffs.
Yes.
So let's get the best 16 teams. Let's put them in a pool and say that's our 1 through 16 record-wise, no matter conference, and let's see who's the best in the NBA.
So, Zach, common sense-wise, I think any basketball fan would say, yes, we want what Paul wants. We want that. But the reason why it hasn't happened is you need what? 2/3, 3/4 of the Board of Governors to approve that change. And so you would be asking Eastern Conference team owners to basically vote themselves out of all of that playoff money that they would get if it stayed in the just East and West. Do you see that ever happening, Zach? I know you can do this, but do you see it actually happening?
2 home games. Boo-hoo. No, probably not. But you know what you
is it
do get?
2/3? Is it 3/4?
So
what is it?
I can't remember. It's a lot. So you get your lottery pick, but it's both that and for some of the coastal teams, this is really a blood issue for them. They don't want they don't want scenarios where they have to crisscross the country 3 or 4 times during a playoff run. So I've given up all hope of this ever happening, frankly.
It's crazy because it is just practically, it feels like it makes so much sense. It is interesting when you look at all of this, by the way, the schedule is different this year, right? We only have 72 games. And so you have teams playing one less game against the teams inside their conference. So Eastern Conference teams used to play one more additional game against the worst teams in the Eastern Conference. They aren't able to pad their record with that anymore. This is some of what we're seeing. It is eye-popping. 3 teams, only 3 in the East above 500.